One of the things I like to do is try to figure out what my signal strength is like um, for a particular day that I'm operating. Sometimes you can listen to the bands and you won't hear anything and assume that the bands are dead, and that's not necessarily the case. Also, with solar propagation and conditions, it can make it look like today wouldn't be a good day to operate CW or sideband, but that's not necessarily the case. So my two biggest questions every day are what are the bands open today, and what's my signal strength like? And I'm going to show you a couple of different things that I do each day right before I operate. One of them is I go to a website called bandconditions.com, which I'll show you. And this will show you the current conditions. Now these are averages for your area, and you can see that since it's close to noontime, conditions aren't going to be the best. And this gives you a quick indication, and it's refreshed every few minutes. So again, it takes averages. Don't solely rely on this, but it gives you a pretty good indication what the conditions are like for that time. Now the next thing I do is I go to a website called Reverse Beacon, and it's actually reversebeacon.net. And here I'll go ahead and create a spot search under DX spots, and you can search for your own call sign. So in the DX, my call sign's N3MLB, so I'll search on that. And you'll see that there's a couple of spots here. And this is actually cached. This wasn't recent. This was a few hours ago. And you can see that I had some signal strengths of about 14 dB into the Midwest. What does that translate to? Basically 2S units. So not exactly great. But the neat thing you can do here is highlight a particular beacon and see what the signal strength was like during different times and on different frequencies. And you can see here at on 30 meters I had 22 dB, and an hour later on 40 meters it wasn't that great. So here's what I do. Is go under Show and Hide, and since it's cached, just change the refresh rate, the spot lifetime, to 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You only have to do it once, and that'll clear your cache. Now you can see there's nothing on the screen. So all I need to do now is send CW, or send a CQ, and let's see what happens. And it'll take about a minute, and there it is. It just appeared. So what just happened here? Well, you can see the station AC0C located, and it looks like Kansas City, just below Kansas City. I mean, it's right on the Missouri line. But you can see that it showed up. The beacon picked up my signal, and didn't realize I was sending at 23 words per minute, but it gave me a 13 dB. So what does that translate to? Well, not very good. It's basically 2S units above the noise level. That's a rule of thumb. There's been some arguments on what that really translates to, but normally under better circumstances, this would really light up. This would show multiple stations. So we'll try 40 meters. now you can see we got some activity, and it looks like 5 stations, and the strongest being in, I'm assuming that's going to be New York, N2WQ at almost 3 S units. So let's take a closer look here. Here's another thing that you can do. Let's say this is a point here. If you just hold your mouse over it, it'll tell you the station call sign. So that's K1TTT, and there's KM3T, and I'm assuming this is the 2 call. Yep, N2WQ. So on 7.028.5, I had those stations show up. So if you go back to band conditions and take a look, yeah, it really is that bad. But in all honesty, this guy up in New York, for my QTH, he would be able to work me. Now, we don't know what type of antenna this individual has. That's another thing to consider. There's a call sign. It's AC0 something, AC0C. This guy right here. He must have a heck of a system. I didn't look him up. He's out in the Midwest here. That's the one in between Missouri and Kansas City. He must have a heck of an antenna, because he normally picks me up no matter what I send out. Now again, I'm only operating 5 watts, so increasing power, you would have to quadruple the power to get 4S units. So in this case, this 18 dB signal, if I wanted to be another S unit higher, I've got to quadruple my power. So that means I've got to run 5, 10, 15, at least 20 watts to be able to improve my signal. But this gives you a general idea of how to test the band conditions. And I use this every day, and it works really good for me. And I'm sure there's other websites and there's other tools. PSK Reporter is another one for just about any mode. PSK Reporter. This is a wonderful website if you don't already know about it. Here you can pick all different types of modes, and maybe this will work on mine. Yep, sure does. Maybe not. Let's say sent and received by. Now let's see what that looks like. Now, it does tell you the signal strength in minus dB, but quite honestly, for CW, reversebeacon.net works like a charm. If you're looking to see what your signal strength is like for these other nodes, like JT65, Olivia, RTTY, and especially PSK, you can take a look to see what kind of activity there is. It's pretty accurate. Let me take my call sign out here. And let me pick anyone and be prepared. So this is PSK 63, all activity, and you can see at the present time that's all the PSK 63 activity there is. If I change this to just PSK 31, oops, in the last 15 minutes, you can see there's a heck of a lot more activity, and also shows you where those signals are going in the path that they're taking. Again, for CW, I use band conditions for just about anything. You can see these markers moved up in the last few minutes. I use reversebeacon.net to track my signal strength, and you can also use it for spotting other call signs. That's all I have. Hopefully this helps.